Football Report presented by BCWSA, a weekly recap of your Philadelphia Eagles and news around the NFL. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's, tonight's show is brought to you by Rob's Automotive and Collision, BCWSA, Chickies and Pete's, Allstate Fairless Hills Tom LaCroix, Penworth Financial Services, Penn Community Bank, Capital Grill, Ventresca's LTD, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Now, here are your hosts, Delaware County Times Birds reporter Bob Grotz and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Great to be with you. We are at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill. And what a good week this is. It's a great week in sports for Philadelphia, Bobby Grotz, with the Phillies playing Game 7 tonight and the Eagles coming off a great win.
Yeah, a big win. Huge win. The Miami Dolphins were averaging 500 yards coming into that game, and they got half of that.
It's amazing.
It was. Sean Desai, great job by him. I mean, I like that scheme. Just totally throttled Tyreek Hill, yeah.
We have a great guest tonight. He is a close friend, and he's also one of the most respected sports journalists in the country, an author, member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and somebody all of you are well acquainted with. How about a nice welcome for Ray Didinger?
Hey, Merrill, always a pleasure to be with you and Bob.
Boy, it's great to have you here, Ray, because this team has done some interesting things. And just recapping what they've done, they start out with 5 straight wins, and then they lose to the New York Jets, of all people, for the first time in franchise history.
And I thought for sure they were going 8-0.
But here's what I thought. Here's what I really believe now, looking back. I think that Jets loss may have been something that really was good for them, because they hadn't been playing great in all 5 of those wins.
No.
And that Jets loss was kind of an awakener.
I think that's definitely true. I mean, they hadn't played. Probably the best game they had played up to that point was the game against the Rams. But even that was less than perfect.
Sure.
So, I think that was a jolt, was going up to New York and losing that game. It looked like for the longest time that it was going to be one of those games that you were going to say, well, they didn't play good, but they won. But then comes that final interception, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, they're going to lose to the Jets.
Yeah.
And I really thought that the game against the Dolphins was going to be a real measuring stick. And I said to somebody that day, I said, if the Eagles are as good as I think they are, they'll show it tonight. Because up until that point you hadn't seen it, but you knew this was a good team. You knew this was a dangerous team in Miami. I mean, Grotz, you talked about almost 500 yards. They were number 1 in the league running the ball. They were number 1 in the league throwing the ball. They were number 1 overall offense. They were number 1 in the red zone. They were the number 1 in points. I mean, it was the best offense in football. So it was a real challenge for a team that has some issues in the secondary. But my feeling was, if the Eagles are really as good as I think they are, as I felt they were going into the season, that tonight's the night you're going to see it. And I think we did. I really think we did. I mean, the defense, and you gave credit to Sean.
Oh, he had a great plan, I thought.
Who deserved a tremendous amount of credit. But, I mean, the front 7 played great. I mean, they took the running game completely away from Miami and allowed the secondary to play, the safeties to play off. They didn't come down to the box, minimized the big play, and really muffled that offense. You said 244 yards, which is what they got, and only 1 offensive touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought you could hold Miami to that?
And I should have said this too. They, the Eagles offensively did the jobs too. They ran. I think it was 75 plays they ran off. And the Dolphins had like 47.
Right.
That's a lot fewer possessions.
And more than 36 minutes time of possession. And I mean it was a textbook way to beat a team like the Miami Dolphins. It gives them a big win, and now they got 2 more games to go. They got 2 division games, Washington and then Dallas, and then they get a week break.
Ray, when you do the broadcast, it's ad lib, but the 2 things I write are the beginning, so that we come out strong with a certain thought, and the wrap-up, the goodbye and brought to you by and that stuff. But I could have had you write my beginning, because what I said to Mike Quick was, I said, this is not a do-or-die game, because there are still 11 games left. I said, but what it is a barometer of just how good they are. And that's what it was. It was a barometer because a lot of people were saying they hadn't really played an excellent team. But, on the other hand, they were saying that about Miami, too.
You could say the same thing about Miami, for sure. And the one thing you could say about the Eagles up to that point, not now, because they played really good against Miami, but they had not played what you would call a complete game, where they were just really good for 4 quarters. In all the games, there were some moments. There were some times that they played really well, but there were other times you just said, they could play better than this. They hadn't played a complete game. But I could, the other night I would say they played a complete game.
They did. Have you met Sean Desai?
I have not.
He's a guy who was on the Temple staff.
I knew that. I did know that.
And he got his doctorate while he was at Temple. And when you speak with him, he comes across with somebody with a high graduate degree.
Yes.
Because he's very, very soft-spoken. He's very, very cerebral. And he's just really got it together. He understands defensive football. It's funny, many, many years ago, you and I both knew an Eagles defensive coordinator who looked more like a professor who could be an English lit professor.
He looked like a grandfather.
Who could be wandering the grounds of Princeton. And that was Bud Carson. He never had the look.
I thought you could say Jim Johnson.
Well, right. Jim Johnson was a lot more authoritative in his everyday appearance and his approach. But Sean Desai reminds me of a very cerebral academic, and yet he's really bright, and the players really respect him.
That's a very good description of Bud Carson, because Bud was whenever I think of Bud, I always think of him being sort of a little rumpled, a little disheveled. His hair was always kind of off. I mean, he looked like a guy that would be a faculty member at Princeton or something.
He did. That's what I thought about him.
That's actually a very good description of him. But a really smart coach with a tremendous history. I mean, he was the coach of the Steel Curtain in Pittsburgh. He went to Los Angeles and helped that Rams team to a Super Bowl. He actually became a head coach in Cleveland, and then succeeded Buddy Ryan here in Philadelphia, running that defense. And you talk to people across the sport of football that go back a ways, and you ask them who were the best defensive coordinators in the modern era, and Bud's name always comes up. Always comes up.
I think so. And one of my real gripes about the Hall of Fame, and you do belong in there, I'm not taking that away, but I think that they ignore certain coordinators because they were never head coaches or they were never NFL players. I mean, Dick LeBeau was in, but Dick LeBeau, part of that was as a great defensive back. But if you think about it, Bud Carson belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Jim Johnson belongs in the Hall of Fame. Buddy Ryan, not as a head coach, but Buddy Ryan belongs in for what he did with those Bears and with the Jets. Belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, there are...
How about Don Coryell?
Don Coryell finally goes in this year.
Yeah.
Finally goes in this year. But, I mean, you go back, they've been talking for, like, literally 30 years, 40 years about Clark Shaughnessy. Yeah. The guy who invented the T formation, and they can't get him in.
They can't get him in.
I always thought Dick LeBeau was an easy choice. I mean, to me, because he was a borderline Hall of Famer as a player.
Yes.
I mean, he was that good of a player, and then was a tremendously impactful defensive coordinator. I mean, a lot of the stuff that other teams are running on defense now, Dick created. I mean, the zone blitz he drew that up on a napkin flying back on a team charter one time. I mean,
is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
how about Dom Capers was the fire zone blitz?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think what happened, Merrill, and I don't know if you and I never really talked about this, but the Hall of Fame, I love those guys, and I think they've done a great job honoring the history of the game, but they have some thought processes that to me are a little skewed. And when LeBeau's candidacy came up, and Dick was on the ballot for like 20 years, and kept getting passed over, and they said, and my argument was, look, just what I said. I mean, he was almost a Hall of Famer as a player. You could argue that, but certainly as a coach. And they said, well, but that was as an assistant coach, and you can't combine the two. We either have to put him in as a player, or we have to put him in as a coach. And as a head coach, he wasn't successful. He was an assistant coach, but we don't have assistant coaches in there. So it became, in the minds of some of those voters, a disqualifier. And I said, why don't you just weigh his career body of work?
Sure.
Put it all together. What was he? He was an outstanding player. He was of his time, probably the best defensive coordinator. And okay, the head coaching thing in Cincinnati didn't work out, but who is a successful head coach at Cincinnati? So, but I mean, if you look at his whole career in professional football, he absolutely belongs in. Well, I think finally, common sense prevailed and Dick got in the Hall of Fame. But sometimes they don't look at the whole. They try to partition all of this stuff in your career, and I just think that's kind of silly.
Well, the other one, and Bobby, you can jump in whenever you want. The other one who I think got in for a combination of things, although people will never admit it, was John Madden. Mm-hmm. Now, John Madden was a good coach, but John Madden was not one of the all-time coaching greats. I don't think he even coached that long, but a lot of it had to do with the great persona he had as a television personality and doing the games for all those years, and all the things that he said and how visible he was traveling in the Madden Cruiser and this and that. Again, the whole body of work, but part of it was not based totally on John Madden, the coach.
No, because you're right. I mean, his career as a coach was pretty brief. He did have, at the time that he went in, and I think this is probably still true, he had the highest winning percentage of any coach, which that was the argument for putting him in. But he didn't coach that many years. But I think what you describe as impact as a broadcaster, absolutely true. The video game and all the young people that's brought
telestrator,
all of that stuff. I just thought he was a great ambassador for pro football.
He was.
And on the basis of that alone, I think he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. It's funny that you brought that up about the highest winning percentage. Last week at the weekly media briefing, the Wednesday briefing, I brought up to Nick Sirianni. I said, Nick, I don't know if you know this, but you have the highest winning percentage of any coach in Eagles history.
Right.
And he said, I didn't know that. He said, thanks for telling me, but he said, I guess you could have said that when we beat Cleveland, because his first game was a win at Cleveland. So at that point, that point, he was 1,000% winning percentage. So that winning percentage thing. The body of work has to really be large for that to have a meaning.
Yeah, well, it's funny you should mention that, because I was just looking at the media guide and I was looking at the winning percentage, and you're right. Nick has the highest winning percentage of any Eagles coach, and by a mile. I mean, his winning percentage is over 700, and the next winning percentage is probably Andy and Greasy Neal, who are just 500 or so. But I mean, he's at 700. He's like 150, 200 points ahead of the next closest guy.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Well, Nick has never missed the playoffs.
No, he is not. No, he is not.
But then you can make a case, Bobby, that he took over a pretty good team. He did not take over one of these cellar-dwellers who were going to get the first pick in the overall draft based on the record.
I don't know. They went 4-12, didn't they, or 5-11, something like that? Yeah.
The first year was the playoff. This is Nick's fourth year.
Yeah, but I'm
fourth.
But he took over. The last year of Doug was pretty bad.
Yeah, the last year of Doug's.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more involved in that than
the quarterback. That situation was going on.
Carson Wentz imploded, and then they threw Jalen Hurts, a rookie, in at the end of that season. And there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes with
for
Doug
sure.
and Howie.
For sure. But he's done, for a guy who came in that, none of us knew anything about him, really. We kind of knew who he was, but we didn't know a whole lot about him. We didn't know a whole lot about him, his philosophy. He had no track record as a head coach. He was really largely an unknown. Boy, what a revelation he has been. He has really impressed me. I think he's really, really a terrific young coach, and I think he's going to be here a good long time.
I think so too.
No doubt about it. And I always, like a lot of people, when he mispronounced the club president's name, at that press conference, I thought, how much does he really know what he's getting into? But
but that was a lack of preparation on the part, I think, of, and I'm not criticizing them, but I don't think he was properly prepared for that press conference. He came out and they let him fly, and he was just not used to that.
That was crazy, yeah.
And it was, but remember the circumstances again. It was weird. Everything was being done remotely. Remember, he was standing alone in a room, talking to a bunch of disembodied voices. If he had been in a room where he could have seen the faces of the guys and everything, I think he's a very engaging person.
He is.
When the people are there to engage him. doing it virtually the way we were doing back in that day, due to the COVID, I think it was tough for anybody to communicate effectively.
I think that the best thing about him is he communicates so well with his players.
Extremely so.
They respect him.
We got to take a break.
We have to take a break. All right. When we have Ray Didinger, we shouldn't have any breaks. We shouldn't take anything away from Ray Didinger.
I'll talk to Chris Irmer about that.
All right, Chris, we'll take a break anyhow. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, Merrill Reese, voice of the Eagles, inviting you to join me and a different Eagles guest every week for Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Listen to the show on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM from a different Chickies and Pete's location near you. Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, prove it.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
At Penn Community Bank, we're not just your bankers, we're your neighbors. That comes in handy when you're purchasing your first place, refinancing an existing mortgage, buying a second home or investment property, or looking to tap into your home's equity. Whatever your situation, we pair the latest products, services, and technology that you need with the experienced banking professionals you want. Visit penncommunitybank.com or stop by your local branch to find out how we can make your family's growth personal. Penn Community Bank. Here we are and here we grow. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs. A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Hi, it's Merrill. Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa is here to help you distress after the game. Visit them to restore, relax, or refresh with a much-needed massage or facial for an introductory price starting at just $79.95. They offer an abundance of facial and massage services. Visit any one of their 60 spas in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley, or go to handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details. Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here's your host, Delaware County Times Birds reporter Bob Grotz, and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are, here at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill, and our special guest is Ray Didinger. Ray, we're talking about Nick Sirianni, and I think the best thing about him, and he's a bright guy, there's no doubt about that, but I think the best thing about Nick is his ability to communicate with the players. And I think, on the other hand, the worst coach that I've ever been around in my 47 years, I shouldn't say he's the worst coach. I should say he's the coach who I least enjoyed being around, because there were coaches like Marion Campbell who, God bless him, he was a wonderful man, but he was not a very good head coach. I think you would agree. My first coach was still my favorite coach, and that's Dick Vermeil, my favorite of all time.
For sure.
But you go through, there were some, Ray had a great first year, and I love Ray Rhodes, but ultimately he did not turn out to be a great head coach either here or when he got a second chance in Green Bay.
Right.
Andy was a terrific coach, obviously. His record shows that, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame one day. But the guy who I had the toughest time with, and even Richie Kotite. Richie Kotite was not a great head coach.
No.
But I liked him. He was kind of mercurial. He'd be very upbeat one day, and the next day he'd be awful. But Richie Kotite I still liked as a person. The one I, quite frankly, did not enjoy being around was Chip Kelly. I've said that on a number of occasions. I remember when, at his first press conference, he was great, and I came to the front of the room afterwards, and Jeffrey Lurie introduced me to him with some nice accolades, and Chip turned to me and said, "Merrill, it's great to meet you. When you have a chance, I'd like you to come to my office, and I'd like to pick your brain and hear your stories." So Derek Boyko, the Eagles PR director, took me up there about 2 weeks later, and he said, Chip has some free time. Come on up. So he brought me up, and I came to the door, and as I came to the door, he jumped out of his desk, came to the door, patted me 3 times on the back, and sent me on my way. And I never had any relationship with Chip Kelly. On one game, you remember the great Thanksgiving game they had behind Mark Sanchez in Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
On Thanksgiving night, Thursday night, I got on the plane, and I started to walk back, and as I passed Chip in the aisle, I said, "Coach, that was a great job. You did a great job." He looked over, saw me, said, "Thanks," and turned his head. He wanted nothing to do with me.
He was a man of few words.
He was a man of no communication skills.
Yeah.
And I still feel he's that way. And I don't care how bright you are, and I trust that he is bright, but I think the most important thing in this coaching profession, and in any profession, is to be able to be a good communicator.
Absolutely.
And he was terrible.
He had a higher win percentage than Doug Peterson.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Well, then that shows your win percentage isn't all that.
He did. It was slightly higher, yeah.
Well, I mean,
I love Doug.
The first 2 years were double-digit wins. Both of them won the division. He's the only coach in the history of the franchise to win the division in his first year.
Yeah, but Ray, in that second year, when they won, they were already leaking.
Oh, I agree with that. But if you're just talking about the raw numbers, those raw numbers are still really good. But your basic point about communication skills and how important that is it's tremendous, especially if you're in a leadership role in whether it's in business, whether it's in schools, whether it's in the military, or whether it's in sports. The guy at the top has to be able to communicate.
Yes.
It really doesn't matter how much he knows or how much he understands the game and all the X's and O's part of it. If he can't connect with his players and impart that knowledge in a way that they're going to receive it and understand it, then the knowledge doesn't really amount to a whole heck of a lot. The communication skills are absolutely vital. And, you know, in our time, we've been around this, and Bobby too, because Bobby's been around a long time. You know, we've covered a lot of different coaches, and you can really see it. The guys who can communicate and connect with their players are the ones that ultimately are the most successful. And we saw that with Nick pretty quickly. I remember, the classic example was when the team was going so bad at the beginning of the year, and in that one press conference, he started telling the story about, I was talking to the players, and I was talking about the fact that there's stuff under the soil.
The flowers.
And everybody just rolled their eyes, and they said, "Oh my God, is this guy kidding?
He's talking flowers to football players.
Is he kidding, this guy?" And people were writing him off. But what you found out was the players understood what he was talking about.
Yeah, they did.
And the very next week, when everybody wrote them off, they went to Detroit, blew out the Lions, and it sort of validated what he was saying.
He's really good at using that us against the media thing. I mean, he did that from his opening speech. He told the players, Everybody made fun of me, that first speech.
Right.
And it was embarrassing. And I said, I'm going to do better. I'm going to improve. And he told him that at one of the meetings, to get him ready to play.
Right.
Which was very smart.
They
loved it.
He is the second most emotional coach I've ever been around. We know who the first
Well,
is.
Dick is obviously number
Dick
one.
would cry at basketball games. I mean, Dick was Mr. Emotion. But Nick is very, and the other thing is Dick controlled his emotion a little more. Nick can turn and scream at the fans in Indianapolis or go into the seats, or he's a little more demonstrative on game day.
Yeah, and the other part of it is, and this goes to the whole idea of communication, why certain guys are good communicators as opposed to others. There's the idea of authenticity, of being real. If a lot of coaches, if the players will sense, okay, I hear what this guy's saying, but I don't know. I think it's an act. I don't know if he really believes what he's saying. I think he's just saying it for effect. They have to think that you're authentic. They have to think you're real. The guy that you're seeing in front of the room, that's who you are. And I think that Nick has that. I mean,
he does.
Nick gets up in front of the team and starts talking, and the stuff that he says and the things that he does. I mean, sometimes I look at it and I kind of scratch my head because I've never seen it quite like that. But the players like the fact that, hey, that's him. And I feel like everything that he says, it's coming straight from the heart, and players can get behind that.
I agree.
He's a motivator, and this last game to pump up his guys. Remember a Bronx Tale, the movie?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You remember the part where the main character says to the bikers who busted up the bar, "Now you're not." He locks the doors, and you're not going to leave.
Right.
He showed that to him.
Yeah.
And you can imagine they were ready to go through the walls right there.
Yeah.
That's Nick. I mean, he literally just thinks of things to do and then shows them to the guys.
Good. Now, I should go back and say, as much as I didn't like Chip Kelly, and as much as I root for UCLA to lose every week, I have to tell you
they
this.
won big last week.
He did one great thing. He did one of the greatest things in Eagles history, and that was he hired and brought in Jeff Stoutland, who is easily the best offensive line coach I've ever been around.
He's really good. I don't know that I've ever been around a better one. I spent some time in the 70s with the Steelers because I was writing a book about the Steelers back then. And their offensive line coach, Dan Radakovich, was very, very good. I think he reminds me, in terms of his manner and in terms of the way his teaching techniques and everything, Jeff reminds me a lot of Rad. But in terms of Philadelphia, we've had some pretty good offensive line coaches. We have. I mean, back on Dick's team, like Jerry Wampler and...
Well, I worked with a guy for 14 years by the name of Stan Walters who would sit here and debate you forever because he felt that Jerry Wampler was the worst offensive coach that he's ever been around in his life.
Well, Dick still...
Talk to Stan someday about that.
Well, Stan didn't take teaching all that well.
No.
Let's put it that way. It's so funny. Stan one time said that when we did Stan for Tell Us Your Story, when Glenn and I were doing the show together, we had Stan as our guest one time. So we had Stan for a whole hour.
Uh-huh.
So we got the total Stan
and
for
he's great.
60 minutes. And he's great. And he said, the one thing that I've never really said this before, publicly at least, but I guess I can say it now, is I never really liked football. I didn't really like playing football. I didn't really enjoy playing football. To me, it was a job. It was like, my father, my father went to work with his lunch pail, and that's what he did to pay the bills. That's what football was to me. I didn't really love it. It was just a job I went to every day. And I mentioned that to Dick like a few weeks later. I saw Dick and I said, we had this interview with Stan, and he talked about the fact that he didn't really like football. And Dick said, yeah, I could tell. but to his credit, it didn't keep him from being a great player.
He had a great career.
He was really a good player.
But you know what? For a guy who doesn't like football, Stan and I speak with each other every week. Mm-hmm. Every week. And he is passionate about the Eagles.
We got to hear one of those stories when we come back from the break.
We're taking another break. Thank goodness you're here.
You got a million Stan Walter stories.
We'll be back right after this.
I want a good one.
It's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. Here's a winner, fall football, and Chickies and Pete's mouth-watering snow crab legs. For a limited time, buy one and get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. Enjoy the sweet, delicate flavor of snowy white crab meat dressed in our special blend of seasonings and spices. Pair it with an ice-cold draft beer or one of our signature cocktails. buy one and get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday for a limited time. Restrictions apply. Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. And here's the pitch. BCWSA water and sewer customers, you have a new and improved option to pay your bill that's convenient, reliable, and secure. Powered by Invoice Cloud, you can pay your bill 24/7 online, pay by text or phone, or sign up for AutoPay to avoid fees for late or missed payments. Visit bcwsa.net to sign up or for more info. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, prove it.
At Penn Community Bank, we're not just your bankers, we're your neighbors. That comes in handy when you're purchasing your first place, refinancing an existing mortgage, buying a second home or investment property, or looking to tap into your home's equity. Whatever your situation, we pair the latest products, services, and technology that you need with the experienced banking professionals you want. Visit penncommunitybank.com or stop by your local branch to find out how we can make your family's growth personal. Penn Community Bank. Here we are and here we grow. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs. A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Hi, it's Merrill. Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa is here to help you distress after the game. Visit them to restore, relax, or refresh with a much-needed massage or facial for an introductory price starting at just $79.95. They offer an abundance of facial and massage services. Visit any one of their 60 spas in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley, or go to handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details. Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here's your host, Delaware County Times Birds reporter Bob Grotz, and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill, and you are listening to Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and seen live on YouTube by searching WBCB Sports. Now, you obviously have something.
I do this every week.
Okay,
yeah.
then see if you can do it right for a change.
I will give it a shot.
Okay.
It's time now for this week's injury review.
It's time
now for this week's injury review. Brought to you by the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for a free consultation at 215-806-3689, 215-806-3689. And by the way, Jalen Hurts played the second half with a knee brace.
Yeah.
That is odd, isn't it? I mean, why would you put it on at the half? That almost seemed like
I don't know, and nobody says anything, and it's a mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously his knee was not 100%, or he wouldn't have put on a knee brace.
No, it was not. And there was a play in the first half when he scrambled out of the pocket and ran out of bounds, got a first down. But you saw that as he finished the run and they got out of bounds, when he turned to come back and found he had a little bit of a limp, which you really hadn't seen before. But I think he came into the game with some sort of a problem, some sort of a tweak, and I think he aggravated it on that run. And when they went in at halftime, that's when they braced it, and that's when he came out for the second half. But I thought it was a little scary to see Marcus Mariota warming up like he meant business before the start of the second half, because watching him throw it on the sideline, I thought, my God, it looks like – and you didn't see Jalen. He was still inside.
Well, they were still buying the brace, I think. You know, they were at the athletic store. And,
well, whatever it was, at that moment, it looked like you didn't see Jalen, and you saw Marcus throwing the ball, and I thought, it looks to me like Marcus Mariota is going to start the second half. Didn't have to, but it looked for a while like he might.
Well, that's definitely the big thing to monitor on the injury report, along with Reed Blankenship. That rib injury?
Yeah, we don't know much about that. And if that's all there was, or did he have something a little more than that? I don't know.
We do know that they signed another safety, a veteran, Kevin Byard, from the Titans.
Yeah.
Well, they traded for him. They didn't, and he's a guy that it's an interesting character. 27 interceptions over the last 6 years, 6+ years, and took a pay cut to come back. But, you can't tell whether he's lost some of his effectiveness because of all the craziness and drama with the Titans who are bottoming out, or, whether he's still got something left. But I'll tell you this. We were talking about this the other week, Ray. The Eagles are not getting many turnovers,
No.
They're especially interceptions. They're
correct.
They're like in the bottom of the league.
Yeah, they've only got 3. And the Slay play against Miami was a huge play in that game.
Oh, my goodness.
Huge play. But that was only their third interception of the season. I mean, that's not many.
Ray, do you know that they had
that's got to help.
They had gone 17 quarters without a takeaway.
Right.
And when the takeaway occurred, I went out of my mind. I started yelling, and then I said, a takeaway. And then I said, that's Takeaway. I couldn't believe it. Can you imagine? I don't ever remember them going 17 quarters without a takeaway.
Yeah, they had gone 3 whole games without one, and that one came at just the right moment.
Yeah.
I mean, that was when you needed it, and you got it. But to your point about Byard, I think that's kind of been his stock and trade, is he's really good at that. I mean, his first full year as a starter, he led the league in interceptions. So he's proven that he's got that ability, and I think that getting out of Tennessee, which is clearly in the middle of a fire sale, and they're not going anywhere, and coming to a team that has a real legitimate chance to go to the Super Bowl, I think is going to bring out the best in him.
And a pass rush, which Tennessee doesn't have.
And you get him for Edmonds, who didn't really figure in here, and 2 day 3 draft picks. I mean, it's really another good move by Howie.
No, he does that. I mean, go back to Ajayi in the Super Bowl year, picking up Jay Ajayi right before the trade deadline.
Correct.
And he turned out to be an impact player.
Yep. Yeah, really helped that team.
He did. He had like one tendon left in his knee that wasn't damaged, and they still found a way to get some effective play out of him.
But I don't know. Should we be concerned about the brace that Jalen wore? I don't know. They'll be back at practice tomorrow for the first time since the game.
I would. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's looked as fast as he has in previous years.
I do. I thought the other night. Yeah. I think he's just as fast. I don't think the speed is a difference. I think early in the season he wasn't running as much or as recklessly.
Right.
He was being very, very careful with his running of the football. And then in the last 2 games, he turned on the afterburners and really picked up some yards when he had to.
Yeah.
Right.
I think, and this is just my opinion, the big difference is now when he uses the quarterback draw, teams have had a whole off season to prepare for it, and that open air is not there. They're ready. He's had trouble with that quarterback draw.
Oh yeah, it's not. It's not had the same effectiveness as it did last year. But you kind of knew that. I mean, that's one of the problems with having the kind of success that a team like the Eagles had last year. Was a lot of that stuff they did, a lot of the quarterback draw, a lot of the RPO stuff, a lot of the plays, the design runs for Hurts were week to week. Teams didn't know how to prepare for it because they hadn't seen it before. Well, now they had a whole off season to study it, and now they have a much better idea of how to play your defense and know to sort of shut that down. So you're not seeing those big lanes that you saw before, and that's the part of the problem with winning in this league. Teams have more time to study you, and making the same plays that made you successful are harder to achieve.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it, but
I don't think he's slower.
He got bigger. He got bigger in the offseason.
Yeah, but he didn't get slower.
He's more muscular. I think he's like half a step slower. I don't think he's.
I don't.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember when Donovan bulked up to.
Yeah, but
This is a little bit different.
Donovan got huge.
He bulked up to like linebacker size. That was a little different.
Much different.
And he couldn't get out of the pocket. He got his leg broken, And so, that it's definitely something to monitor. And this knee brace and whether he plays with it. And
do you have any other injuries?
Yeah, we do.
We got just going to complain about poor Jalen Speed.
Bradley Roby. Complain about what? Here we go. Bradley Roby has a hamstring, and we should really talk about this in depth too, Merrill. He's got a hamstring, and Devontae Smith got through a knee, and Lane Johnson got through that ankle injury. Both those things were encouraging.
Ray,
that's your injury report.
Okay, brought to you
by the attorneys at Bigling, Carlin, and Mandio.
You did that well. Ray, I have to ask you, you are a football historian. You are in many ways a purist. I have to ask and find out what Ray Didinger thinks of what I now call the brotherly shove. Mm-hmm. Half the league is screaming about it. They tried to get it outlawed last offseason. That didn't happen. But what does Ray Didinger think? Is this rugby play okay with you?
I think it's genius.
I do too.
I think it's genius.
I love it.
However, having said that, I think enjoy it while you can, because I don't think it's going to be allowed next year.
Because they can't do it.
They can't. Nobody else can do it. Now, what they will do is nobody's going to come out and say, okay, we're banning this because the Eagles are really good at it and we're not.
But that's why they're banning it.
But what they will get it out of the game under the guise of it's an unsafe play. And
but there's not injuries that come off of it.
They're going to talk about the two giant guys that got hurt in that one time they ran it, when they ran it poorly. And they're going to just say, we're all about player safety now, and we does this play, it's putting players at risk, and that's where they're going to get it out. But the real reason they're getting it out is that the Eagles the Eagles know how to do it, and they're very successful with it, and it gives them a tremendous advantage.
Oh my! Did you hear
a huge advantage.
Did you hear what Nick said the other night after in his press conference? He said we're the only team who lines up 1st and 9.
It's really true. I mean, you look at their conversion rate when they have 4th and whatever.
Yeah.
And they make it every single time.
They do.
If you look across the league, do you know what the 4th down conversion rate is for 4th downs? 47%.
Yeah.
So the other teams in the league they can't convert 4th down half the time. The Eagles are converting it every time.
That's 4th and short.
Yeah.
40, in your opinion, why? Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, I think it starts with you have really good offensive line. That's a big part of it, and you have a quarterback that has the strength and the power to push it through there, and
he could squat 600 pounds.
Yeah, I mean he's uncommonly strong for a player at that position, and then you got the guys behind him pushing him. There's almost no way to stop that play, and it gives the Eagles a tremendous advantage.
Kelsey.
That drive after the Slay interception.
Yeah.
They get to 4th and 1 at their own 26. There's no other team in football that's going for it there.
Right. And your own.
But at your own 26 in a one-score game, nobody even thinks about that. But Nick sends the guys out there. They do it. They get it. Then they get another set of downs. Then they move up to a 3rd and short. They run it again. They get another one. They take it all the way down. They take almost 6 minutes off the clock. They score another touchdown, and they put the game away because of their ability to convert on short yardage. It's a tremendous advantage
now,
for this
my
team.
partner and friend in the broadcast booth, Michael Anthony Quick, swears that there is something technical that we don't know. That there is something that Nick has
It's
in or
Kelsey.
they haven't.
It's
Kelsey.
Kelsey.
It's something that they are doing that we are unaware of. Now, maybe they pinch. I don't know what that is. But Mike says there's something X's and O's wise under that pile, and that doesn't meet the eye.
I think that's probably true, because you think around the league, everybody's got 300-pound guys on the line.
Sure they do.
Everybody's going to get the same kind of push.
But they don't get it.
And other teams have big quarterbacks, maybe not like this guy, but why?
Oh, Josh Allen's a big quarterback.
Of sure.
And they don't pick it up.
But why is this team, as they get it, and they get it with yards to spare.
I think that's Kelsey. I really do.
It's not even like you have to measure. I mean, it's like they get it by 2 yards. So I think it could. I agree with Mike. I think there's something more
something there
than we know. There. And probably, Kelsey is certainly part of that.
He catches him off balance. We got to go to a break, but
break.
That whole scrum, that reminds me
We shouldn't
the
have
rush,
breaks when we have Ray
the rush
Didinger.
to the buffet at halftime of the writers. Yeah, the tush push.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we are prouder than ever to partner with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chicky and Pete's has been named the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we continue to serve as the official caterer of both Eagles training camp and the official caterer of the First Trust Bank Club at Lincoln Financial Field. Go where the players go. The official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, prove it.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Hi, it's Merrill. Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa is here to help you distress after the game. Visit them to restore, relax, or refresh with a much-needed massage or facial for an introductory price starting at just $79.95. They offer an abundance of facial and massage services. Visit any one of their 60 spas in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley, or go to handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details. Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY.
The life of an Eagles fan is a wild ride. Some years we triumph. Some years we don't. What never changes year after year is how we get to the game, shoulder to shoulder with our fellow fans on SEPTA. And this season, fans ride home free from NRG Station on the Broad Street line thanks to Unibet, an official casino and sportsbook partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Plan your trip to the game and learn more about free rides home, sponsored by Unibet at iseptaphilly.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here's your host, Delaware County Times Birds reporter Bob Grotz, and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill. Great to be with you. And now it is time for this week's Penworth Financial Keys to the Game. The key to your financial future is Penworth. Penworth Financial. Call them today at 267-997-4503 or visit penworth.com. Ray Didinger is our guest, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 3 keys to the game. We will begin with Bobby, go to Ray, and I will back cleanup. All right? Go ahead, Bobby. Keys to the game to beat Washington.
Just find another mob movie with an interesting subplot. Show the video to the players and take it easy during practice during the week.
So show them Godfather.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. All right, Ray. Okay.
I like Bob's suggestion. To me, the key is pass rush on Howell. I mean, you saw anybody that watched the Giants-Washington game on Sunday. I mean, that was it. I mean, they were just they didn't give him any time. I mean, they were on top of him. That's where it is. And the Eagles have, as they demonstrated, even against a really good team in Miami and a team with a quarterback that gets rid of the ball in a hurry, which Howell does not, the Eagles were able to get pressure on Tua. So I think that's going to be the key to this game. If the Eagles can get as much pressure on Howell as I think that they will, I don't think this game's going to go to overtime.
Well, I'm going to take something from both of you. Bobby's about show them a film or a video, and Ray's about pressure on Howell, and I'm going to say show them a tape of Howell against them 3 weeks ago.
I like this.
Because Howell ran rampant over them. And he ran for almost 100 yards against them. So if you look at that and look at the fact that the Commanders are for real, they came up in that day and almost put an L in the Eagles column.
Yep.
Eagles pulled it out on a 54-yarder by Jake Elliott in overtime. I think the Eagles will go in this knowing they have to put the pressure on from the beginning.
Let me ask you two guys a question. Going back to that first Washington game a couple weeks ago, when Washington scores that touchdown at the end of regulation,
why didn't he go for 2?
Are you thinking the same thing I am, that there's absolutely no – Rivera's going to go for 2 here? And the Eagles are on their heels. I mean, if he went for 2, I think they would have scored.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Riverboat Ron.
I was shocked. When Rivera said, let's kick the PAT and go to overtime. I thought for sure he was going to go for 2.
See, I didn't. And my reason for why I didn't think that was my educator, Dick Vermeil. Because once upon a time, in one of our discussions, Dick said that a head coach owes it to his team to preserve their chances of winning as long as possible. And if they went for 2 on that play and failed, the Eagles won right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I thought they wouldn't go for 2.
That's interesting. And I understand what Dick's saying, but I just think that on the road against a superior opponent, your chances are better on that one play right there, especially after you have the momentum of the scoring drive let's just try and win it right here. And especially Rivera had sort of made his bones as a head coach, as a guy who took a lot of chances. I thought for sure he was going to go for it. He didn't, and he wound up losing the game.
But you know what? Even let's say that they didn't, which they didn't, and they just tied the game at that point. Do you remember another play that could have won that game for Washington? That was the big sideline pass where Reed Blankenship went up and just got the receiver to tap the ground.
Diving breakup.
Terry, it was Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Yep. The toe of his heel touched the white line.
Yeah.
And that could have been reversed.
Oh, very easily. Yeah, very, very easily. Yeah, that was. You look back on that. I mean, to me, there's really not much comparison between the Washington team and the Eagles team. The Eagles team are superior in every way. I'm amazed the game was that close. But, yeah, the Eagles came out of it with a win, but you can point to a couple of moments in there when they easily could have lost.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that they'll have to think about this week. They won't – they're coming off a very big win against Miami, and with Dallas a week down the road – you think, is there a possibility they could maybe look past this Washington team?
Game.
Well, that's what they call the trap game.
The trap game. I mean, this could have been a trap game, but you still have the memory now of how you almost beat you a couple weeks ago. I think the trap game factor is probably not.
And I think the Jets helped take the trap game away.
Yeah, probably for the whole season.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I think they could probably beat Washington, and this isn't a diss on Washington, but I think Mariota could probably beat them. Like, what are they going to do? Run the ball on them?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's hope we don't find
Rush
that out.
Passer. Yeah.
Let's hope they don't find that out, because you know what? Somebody said when they got Mariota, he might be the best backup in the National Football League. And I think there are some Giants fans right now who are saying, well, they might have the best backup in Tyrod Taylor, and there are a lot of people up there who are screaming that they don't want Daniel Jones back.
That conversation has already started. The people are starting to take sides. And there's some people there. Let's face it. The offense ran better with Taylor last week than it had run with Jones. And look, they're not going to do that after signing Jones to that contract. Yeah. They're not going to bench him for Tyrod Taylor.
And not that much better, really. I mean, they got a couple of touchdowns, right? That was it.
Yeah, but the second half, their offense kind of stagnated.
Yeah, that offensive line is.
But in the first half, I thought he played well. I really did.
Well, he did. There's no doubt about that. But I think the Eagles are going to be okay this week. I really do. Isn't it amazing how every single week there's some bad team that beats some good team? And that could be exemplified easily by last night, how the Minnesota Vikings beat the 49ers. And everyone's raving about Brock Purdy and how great Mr. Irrelevant is. I don't know that he's that great. Last night, he threw 2 terrible interceptions.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, they've lost 2 in a row. I don't you could blame him for the one 2 weeks ago against Cleveland, because he did drive them up, and if the guy kicks the field goal, they win the game. I don't lay that on him. But last night, the 2 fourth-quarter interceptions, I mean, that's what lost the game.
Yeah.
And, it's a big break for the Eagles. I mean, every loss that the 49ers can pick up now helps the Eagles. If it comes down to the 2 of them for the championship in the NFC, which it very well might.
In Philly?
You'd much rather be playing it here.
Let's pick our games. All right, Tampa Bay at Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I got to think Buffalo's bouncing back.
Yeah, they've had problems, 2 losses in a row. The Rams at Dallas.
Ooh.
I'm going with the Cowboys at home.
Bobby?
I'll take the Cowboys.
Okay. The Jets at the Giants. That could be a good game.
I'll take the Jets. Yeah.
Okay, you're taking the Jets.
I'm going to take the Giants.
Me too. All right, Jacksonville at Pittsburgh.
I'll take Pittsburgh.
I'm going to take Jacksonville.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take Pittsburgh also. Ray takes Jacksonville. Root for Jacksonville. Love Doug. Great coach, great guy.
Me too.
Cincinnati at San Francisco. Could the 49ers lose again?
I don't see it. They're not going to lose 3 in a row. And then this game's in San Francisco.
Yeah,
they'll beat Cincinnati.
Okay, Bobby.
I'm going to take Cincinnati.
I'm going to take Cincinnati. Minnesota at Green Bay. Imagine if Green Bay in the first round had drafted Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
they took Jordan Love.
Yep,
and that's not helping them right now.
Yeah, he's really struggling right now. I'm going to take. I'll take Minnesota.
Bobby.
Minnesota.
I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan in the world, but I got to say he played really good.
He really
night.
did. Cleveland at Seattle. Guess it's Cleveland and P.J. Walker, maybe.
I'll take Cleveland.
Okay, Ray.
They're Cleveland's defense is for real.
Yeah.
I'll take Cleveland too.
I'm taking Seattle and New Orleans and Indianapolis. And let me say that the 2 best new coaches in the National Football League are DeMeco Ryans in Houston and Shane Steichen in Indianapolis.
Yeah. He's done a great job.
He has.
He really has.
Who is it? Houston at Indiana?
No, New Orleans and Indianapolis.
I'll take New Orleans.
Okay, you're taking New Orleans.
Yeah. I'll take the Saints.
I'm taking the Colts.
Okay.
I am taking the Colts. Well, that wraps us up very, very quickly. If we had another hour, we'd analyze the Phillies. But
you want to do another injury report?
No, we're done. Okay. So I want to thank Chris Ermer, our engineer, and I want to thank Jules Quinones, our executive producer. So for Ray Didinger and for Bobby Grotz and Chris Ermer and Cindy Reese, who is here tonight eating, we want to thank all of you for being with us. Good night, everybody. Next week we'll be at the Boulevard. Our guest, Dick Vermeil.
You've been listening to the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of 1490 AM, as well as 107.3 FM, and heard around the world at WBCB1490.com.